So I think I know what you guys are thinking, because I had the same thoughts. I mean, online school, you probably have no social life, you're no fun, probably a nerd. Not to mention your eyesight. Though I must say, I use no glasses, I use no contacts. In fact, my sister who goes to physical school does wear glasses and contacts. I think she got it from my dad. Thanks, Mom. Who gave me perfect eyesight. Or maybe you're not a nerd, right? Maybe you're that one person who convinced your parents you wanted to go to an online school because you wanted to play video games, you want to be on YouTube. Fantastic, right? These were my exact thoughts on Crimson Global Academy, CGA. These were my exact thoughts on just online school in general. I thought it wasn't legit, but I joined CGA anyways, for many reasons. In today's video, I'm gonna bring you guys through a day in my life as an online school student at Crimson Global Academy, CGA. Morning. So today's Monday and this is the first week back from external exams. So we're gonna be starting on new content. I haven't been doing any A-level work for the past week because I was busy with college application stuff. So my plan is to review class material and I might also work on my research. Yeah, so that's my plan for the morning. So to give you all some context, if you haven't watched my previous videos, I'm a Japan-born, Singapore-raised teenager. I came to Singapore at age 4. I went to Singapore's government schools for the subsequent 10 years. You know, I did the good old stuff. I did the PSLE. I went to School of the Arts, Singapore, SOTA. But then I left at Sec 4 and I went to a traveling school for a year. But then a scholarship reduction, just things I felt about the traveling school. So my family and I started to look for other options to spend my last 2 years of high school. We looked at going back to SOTA. I just didn't really like that idea because that meant I had to go down a grade. I also knew I didn't want to go back to IB. I don't know, I just have the scary idea of IB. Maybe because I saw, my seniors going through things. Yeah, going through stuff. I mean, IB took up all of their time. You had no life outside of IB, outside of school. I didn't really like that idea. I wanted to continue pursuing my personal interests and projects. So I was like, nope, maybe not SOTA. I started to think about other international schools, physical ones throughout Singapore, but I just didn't really see a level of academic rigor that I was expecting. For my last 2 years of high school, I really wanted to be committed. I wanted to be sprinting. Yeah, I wanted to not be wasting any time on just school administrative stuff and just school problems. I think those were kind of my reasonings to why I ended up at CGA. Okay, I did an hour of research. Honestly, it wasn't the best session. I just kind of found a few more sources that can hopefully rebut my reviewers' comments. I think I have about an hour left to my first class of the day. So yeah, I want to review some of my class material. Okay, the door just rang, so I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna just get breakfast. First class. So with CGA, I definitely had the thoughts of, okay, it's not gonna work for me. There's no social life. But then I kind of rationalized it by saying, I had friends from SOTA whom I can occasionally hang out with, perhaps. And also, some friends from the traveling school I can call with. Also, I wasn't a biggie on those school events like prom, grad. I mean, I love those moments, right? I love those kind of walking on the corridors and having prom, planning for prom, being excited for prom. I wanted to experience those kind of stuff, but I wasn't so big on them. I wanted to have more time, if I could, on personal passions, if I could. So that sort of won over my feelings. I swear I don't do this every day, okay? But I'm gonna be a bit unhealthy today and I'm gonna eat this instant noodle, Korean ramyeon. I love it. and then I'm gonna add some eggs. That's what I always do. Second class. And of course, that academic rigor. I knew CGA a little bit before, and I knew like it offered me that academic structure. You know, they do A levels. They also offer APs. I do 5 A levels now, and you know, CGA allows that, even though other schools might be like 5 A levels is too much. You can only take 3, 4. I mean, like, it's really flexible, so you can literally like get out of your bed 5 minutes and you're at school. Well, not even 5 minutes, like a second, and you can literally log in and attend classes. I really like that, you know, because you can spend the time in between your classes to do like other things, like my project, and just doing little work in between my classes, right? So I can really make full use of my time, do everything I want, which I thought was great. Done with my second class. I think I want to take a nap because I'm having a little headache. Yeah, I haven't been doing very well recently. I don't know, like I had this moment last week. I was at the gym and I almost fainted. I'm just still feeling that, like, faintness. I probably need more sleep. I think that's the solution. So I'm gonna take like a 30-minute nap before my third class. Yay! Yeah. So those were kind of my reasonings for why I joined CGA. In actuality, these criteria were met. I think I'm doing pretty successfully in terms of the social life aspect. I'm making intentional efforts to meet and arrange meetups with my friends at SOTA. Kira and Eunice, you guys know. Yeah, I just hang out with them and them only, and then sometimes with other people too. It's really nice that I still get invitations to like SOTA events and like performances and like watch them grow, you know, every couple months. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think like students do join CGA. Some of them, they join CGA with the intention of not socializing. So they literally like do not respond to messages. They want to not speak during classes. And you do have the option to do that as CGA, which I think is like valuable because socializing is not for everybody, and I think CGA gives that option. I finished my third class, so I only have 2 classes left for today. But before that, I have a psychology club session because I really like interacting with people despite being in an online school. I have made some friends at CGA. Say hi to the camera. Is objectivity on the mind? Any first thoughts when you see this question?
It could be all in the mind. Perception kind of thing. So we're looking mostly.
I also wanted to just give a heads up. So next week, I really want you guys to be coming because we are inviting a guest speaker to talk on narrative psychology. See you. Bye. Thank you for joining. You know, if you do find your community and if you do engage in like school events and activities, you can have the social life.
But you don't have to do this all by yourself. CGA also makes a conscious effort, perhaps more than any other schools, to create more opportunities for students to get to know each other better. After all, we have an amazing community of learners gathered from all over the world. We have school-wide assemblies and form time every week, social days every couple months or so, and to top it off, student leaders like me often introduce initiatives such as study buddies that host a group study sessions during exam week and interform class fitness challenges that encourage students to get fit together. And how can I forget? Last December, I joined CJ's first ever school trip in Vietnam, and it was a blast. I met students from all over the world, from New Zealand, India, Australia, to Japan, and of course, Vietnam. While Vietnam had so much to offer, I was particularly invested in the students and their reasons for joining CGA. One student lived in a remote area where there were limited options for school. Another struggled with depression and shared how CGA has really helped them cope with it better. In this way, CGA invites learners from a wide range of backgrounds and circumstances. So while there's still room for improvement for an online school, I think CGA does such a great job at making school life much more exciting for students, and I believe it'll continue to do so.
But definitely, people at CGA are much more pragmatic. They approach relationships with more purpose, you know, no small chit-chats and stuff like that, which, yeah, I mean, I expected.
But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because what's better than a relationship that inspires deeper reflection about ourselves and what we want to do with our lives?
My sister just came back home and she had her
Chinese
O-levels.
O-levels.
Chinese O-levels. Yeah.
I
She
think
is
I passed
cooking.
overall.
Huh? Why did you get 100?
I just need a D7 to take Chinese IB.
Okay, but I do have class, so go.
And also in terms of like that balance between academic structure and personal passions that I was expecting from CGA, that is definitely working. I have so much time to do both and balance both because first of all, you're cutting down on like transport times and I'm still having that time to go to the gym. But I think that really comes with my personality of being independent and self-accountable. So I don't think it's something that everybody can do. Choosing CG, I think it's because I understood myself and I understood my work ethic. I knew how I worked. I knew what motivated me. I knew I could motivate myself. I knew I could keep myself in check. And I think those are things you definitely have to think about when you're thinking about CGA. When you're thinking about any school, like, you know, approaching it with intention and like match, like does it match me and how I work? I think it's really important to like consider all of that. Right, for my final class of the day, it's 7:15 currently. It's a back-to-back class. This is usually what my day looks like. It's pretty bad. But yeah, I do enjoy the classes. Now for things like I didn't really expect from CGA. So I didn't really expect like just how effective and efficient classes are. Most students at CGA, they're either like maybe athletes. They don't have to be athletes. Like, you know, they want to do other stuff outside of school and therefore they chose CGA. Or it could be people who are like 4 or 5 years younger than me in the same classes as me. So these are students who didn't enjoy, felt, you know, their previous schools were too easy, too boring, and therefore they wanted to push themselves to like higher levels of education and skip, you know, grades. And then there's those other people who left their previous schools for other reasons like bullying or just they didn't really feel welcomed, so they joined CGA to avoid those and still be able to learn without those restrictions. So you have all these students together in the same classroom, right? And of course from different cultures, different countries, different time zones. So it's great, and I think that's why like you have this group of students who are really engaged, and seeing these engaged students, teachers are also engaged too. So like I just find that the classes I attend are just so effective. And although I really enjoyed it at like physical schools, like those small chit chats, you know, with your table mates, I think at CGA you do have that attention focus. Everyone's muted except for the teachers unless they're asking questions, they're giving opinions and points and suggestions. So it's very like effective, no time wasted. Very effective learning environment. Also, like you don't have to squint, you know, to see the whiteboard because it's like right in front of you. You know where your teacher's looking at. Being an online school, I think it's very like forward thinking. Teachers are very tech savvy. They know how to utilize like online sources. They even recommend us to use online sources to look for like learning resources and like make our learning much more efficient, like using like whiteboard, using like quizzes. I think it's much more effective that way because we are progressing towards a society like that where everyone's expected to be tech savvy, everyone's expected to effectively use AI, for example, to aid their learning, right? Teachers at CGA, I mean, of course they tell you not to use ChatGPT for like homework because they really have to assess you for where you actually are at. But for learning itself, you can like use ChatGPT to make you summarize notes. Like they really encourage that because they know it's helpful. They know it's out there. And we know it's out there, and it's about using that, utilizing that to your benefit that brings you to further places, which I think CGA really recognizes and encourages and, you know, introduces. And I think that was very like new for me. I didn't really expect that kind of learning to come out of an online school, and I'm really thankful for CGA to be providing me with these skills. I
I finished my last class. It's 8:15 now. I usually end the day off eating dinner with my family and then just shower and just knock out, honestly, or do some work. But honestly, today, like, my head hurt for the entire day, so I'm going to sleep and wake up and do the same thing all over again.
So as of this moment, I don't really have much else to say about CGA. I think I did cover like most of the parts that I wanted to talk about. I hope it gave you more context what a day in the life of an online school student. It definitely looks boring visually, but with everything I explained, I hope it gave more like depth to what you were visually seeing. Yeah, I hope it got you sort of considering maybe CGA is a good fit for me, maybe it's not. I hope it just gave you more clarity in terms of is online school meant for me or not, because I know it's not meant for everybody, but it can be a very good environment for who like CJ is meant to be for, if that makes sense. And yeah, if you have any questions on CGA or just online school, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and leave the emoji of a laptop to show that, yeah, this gave you more clarity on what online school is.